Hi and welcome to PowerÄgg. For this video we will look at building an interactive report. We will try and find the best ways of using whitespace, buttons, bookmarks and formatting to enhance the user experience. Let's have a look at how we can accomplish some great interactive reporting. Let's go ahead and build the following report. An interactive report with various types of buttons. For example, we can switch between the bar chart and the line chart using this button. And we can open the filter pane on each chart type, for example like this, and the visualization will automatically adjust the size according to whether you have the filter pane open or not. And again, we can go to the line chart and then open or close the filter pane. Now we've built in something cool. For example, if you decide you want to print this page, but you don't want the buttons, you don't want the filter pane button, and you don't want the logo or anything, you can go ahead and click on this print button and it will resize the visualization for print purposes. Now we can click to exit. And the same thing for the filter pane. If we open it, we can just click on the report to exit, or we can click on the visualization to exit and change. Let's have a look at what we need for this report. We need to define the view requirements, add all the bookmarks we need and define them, add our visuals, add our buttons, import our icons, define our shapes, and then adjust our item grouping. Let's have a look at the view requirements. A view in this sense is a bookmark, and we say view because for the user this is a particular view the user will see, and there will be things hidden or shown depending on what view we have. So the first view we would have is the default line chart. Then we would need our default bar chart view. Then we have a line reset button where we have a line reset view. The same for the bar chart. Then we have the line with the filter pane, which is the line chart with the filter pane opened. The same thing with the bar chart. And then we have our print view for the line chart and our print view for the bar chart. All right, in order to create our views, we have to define our bookmarks. So let's go ahead and start with adding all the bookmarks for every view we have. Okay, we are in Power BI Desktop and I've already created a report page for us. We have a bar chart and a line chart. And now we will get started with adding all the bookmarks for each view that we want. Now we could theoretically already add everything to the report and then create our bookmarks, but I like to have a base before we get started because later on what we can do is we can simply update the bookmarks with a certain type of view, and it creates a better overview and it is more organized in your working. So let's go ahead and go to the view menu, click bookmarks. And as you can see, I've already created all the bookmarks that we need. Yes, we simply do this by clicking add bookmark and then renaming it ABC. And that's pretty much, I will delete this again. That's pretty much it. An important thing we have to do is at this point define our reset views, because what will happen when the user clicks a reset button, it will lead to this bookmark and we want to reset the data. So if we have the reset line button view, for example, what I have to do is we have to define a default state for all the filters and the data. And we have to have data selected so that when the user clicks the reset button, it will go back to the default state. And the same thing for the bar chart. However, for all the other views, we don't want the user to reset the data because we want the report to be interactive and we don't want anything to change while you're switching views. So for this purpose, we have to unselect data. This is really important. Otherwise, it won't be a nice user experience. Once you select filters and you close the filter pane and you change view, it might reset, which is exactly what we don't want. Okay, now that we have our bookmark set, let's continue with the filter pane, which is the dynamic filter pane that will open and close depending on what has been selected. For this, we need our shapes and icons. Then we need our filters. And then finally, we need our reset buttons. Okay, cool. We are back in Power BI and we are going to create the filter pane now. So let's make a better overview. And we can do this by going to the selection, opening up the selection pane, and then hiding everything that we don't need for now. So let's hide this. All right, cool. Now let's go to insert. And then first we need our base for the filter pane. We have a rectangular shape, so let's create that. All right, the filter pane should be about here. It should be this big. So let's make this big, and let's format this a little bit. So let's go to style, and we do not need a fill. Oh, we do need a fill, but it has to be, let's add it to transparent. And we don't need a border. What we do want is a shadow to make it stick out. So we will add a center shadow. Perfect. Okay, and now let's go to general, go to effects, and add a background to this with a 25% transparency. We do not need a visual, and again, we want a shadow for the visual, but we want the position to be in the center. Okay, that's perfect. And now this makes our filter pane stick out a little bit. And let's just, for the final touch, let's add a border, and let's make the corners a little bit rounded so that it's not as edgy. Perfect. Now the next step would be to add our icon. So we need the open and close icon for the filter pane. So let's add it. We can simply, what I did in this case is I went to the internet and I looked for a open close arrow in a PNG format, so we don't have a background and we simply have the symbol. And I will add this by clicking on image. Okay, I've added our images. I know they're a little bit hard to see, so we'll put them over the dark. This is not an optimal image. Better would be a different color, but this is what I found for now. And let's resize this as we want. I wanted 74 height and 70 width. And I will do the same for this. Okay, perfect. And now we have to decide how we want this. So if it's open, we want the close button, and if it's closed, we want the open button. And now this is a bit tricky. So what we see now is not what we will see in the end. We will hide and show it depending on in what view we are. But in order to create to have it more efficient, our work, we will simply layer everything on top of each other and then work backwards. Then we will simply hide what we don't want or show what we don't want. Okay, so let's create everything for now, and then we will continue. I will show you how in a second. Okay, now what I did is I added our filters. So we do this by going on the slicer, adding the slicer visual, and then adding the filter that we want, the field. In this case, it's a value, but for this case, it would be, for example, delivery date. Okay, perfect. Let's resize this a little bit so that it is in the middle. So let's make this a little bit shorter, add it to the middle. We can format this. Oops, sorry, wrong button. We resize this as well. So let's go ahead, go to properties 74/199. We will select all of those and change this to 199. Perfect. And now let's select everything. Since the top one is in the middle, we can go in format, align, and then align left. Oops, okay, wrong. It apparently goes by the bottom one. So let's drag this in the middle, and we can see this is a little bit too wide still. So let's make this 190. And that's a little bit better. Even less actually, 180. I don't want it. Yeah, that's fine. We will add all of these, put it more or less in the middle. If you want to do it perfectly, let's go ahead and select the bottom one, put it exactly in the middle. Okay, and then select everything, go on format and align left. Okay, and then again, it will go to the left, so I was wrong, but that's fine. We can put it in the middle nonetheless. Okay, I suppose it goes by the majority of items selected. All right, the next thing we need is our reset buttons. Now this is a bit tricky because we need two buttons on top of each other. We need the reset button for when we have the line chart, and we need the reset button for when we have the bar chart. So to add a cool reset button, we go to Insert and go to Buttons and add a blank button. And the blank button is extremely powerful. I will show you in a second why. Let's resize this so it is the same size. Perfect. And we'll put it at the bottom here. And let's go to Style and give this some text. We make sure we are in the default state of the button. And then Reset Filters. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay, and let's remove, we don't need an icon. Let's remove the border as well. Perfect. Then we add a shadow. The shadow is in the effects. So we go to General, Effects, Shadow, and then again we want center. Okay, that's fine. We don't need a background or anything like that, so let's go back to the button, and now let's give it some effect for when you hover over it with the mouse, because like this it's a little bit boring and we want the buttons to be interactive and dynamic and give the user a bit better experience. So let's add some effect so that when the user hovers over it, the text will get a little bit bigger. And it will go bold, for example. Yeah, you can do this however you want. I'm not gonna do it bold. I'm gonna do underline. In this case, not the most beautiful thing, but suits the purpose. And now all we have to do is rename this button. So this now it gets. Now there's a really important step where we have to rename all of our selections so that we know what we are doing, because now I'm putting a button on top of a button and I need to know which button is for what purpose or for what view. All right, so we'll copy paste this. I'll put it right over it and I will say, oops, 1 second, let's do something first. Let's select all of the items. And let's distribute them so equally so that it will look a little bit better. Okay, that's fine. Let's move this up. Let's move this up a little bit. Okay, perfect. Okay, now that we have the position, let's move one button, a reset button on top of the other one, and let's rename this. Okay, let's call this reset button line chart, and the other one reset button bar chart. Okay, perfect. Now let's start renaming our images a little bit so that we have a good overview. Okay, we have the shape in the background. Let's call this filter pane back. Okay, and we, depending on the order, so you have to think of the report as layers. So these are our kind of layers. Depending on in what order the item is, it will be on top or below a different item. And we can use this to our advantage, of course, to show and hide things depending on in what view we are. We will do this in a second. So let's go ahead. We have our filter pane back. Then we have our image for the close and image for the open. So let's close filter. And we have open filter. Button purpose. Okay. We have to make sure that this is on top of the filter pane. And now let's go ahead and group our items, because we are going to have a lot more items in the selection pane in a second. So let's go ahead and drag our category, our store increase filter, our product filter, our delivery date filter, our subcategory, and let's select all of these items. Not the buttons, that's important, because the buttons we don't want in the same group. Let's click on more options and then group it. And let's rename this filter pane. Okay. And we want the logo, we want the reset line button to be on top as well. And we want the open filter and close filter to be on top of the filter pane. Okay, perfect. Now we have both our buttons that are on top of each other, one for the bar and line chart, and we have our filter pane. Perfect, that's all we need for now. So before we go into the next step, let's hide everything. Wonderful. And we will continue with the next step. Okay, we have our filter pane basis set, so let's continue with the visuals that we need. And the only thing we have to do is create duplicates of the bar and the line chart in various sizes and positions depending on what view we have. So we will simply lay over or create a duplicate of the bar chart or the line chart and position it and size it depending on for example the print view, and then hide this and then create a duplicate again of this for the base view for the bar or line chart. Let's go ahead and have a look. All right, we are back in Power BI, and let's make sure again that we have our bookmarked and selection pane open, and let's start building the line chart visuals. So let's view the line chart. Perfect, and let's go ahead and include the open filter button so we know more or less where we are working, what dimensions we have. Okay, and now let's resize this a little bit. Okay, that's fine. Let's make sure we leave some space because we're going to have two buttons here where we can switch view. Okay, and let's call this line base. Okay, let's do the same thing for the bar. For this we will simply copy paste this 517, the height and size. So let's go ahead and hide the line chart, open the bar chart, go to general properties, oops, 517. Okay, wait, we have to move this. Okay, so that it takes the size. Okay, perfect. And wait, let's make sure we have the same position. So let's check the line chart and move the bar chart on top of it. Okay, we could also do this by taking the position horizontal and vertical value, but that's fine for now. Okay, so we have the bar base, and now we need, let's hide this and continue with the line again. Now we need, oops, press back. So let's create a duplicate for the line, and let's call this line filter open. Okay, and the same thing for the bar, so let's hide this bar, copy paste, and call this bar filter open. This is for the filter pane view. Okay, let's organize this a little bit. So we have always first the line and the bar. So we have the base, so let's hide the base again, and let's continue with the open line. So probably what we will have to do is we will have to adjust the size, because let's go ahead and check what size we need for the scenario that for the view where the filter pane is open. And we will do this by hiding the close filter button, the open filter button, showing the close filter button, and then viewing the filter pane. Yeah, so we know how much space we have. That's fine. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay, that's perfect. And now again, let's copy the size 517939. Let's hide this. Let's show the bar chart, and we have general 517939. Let's reposition this. Okay, again, let's unhide the line chart, and let's see if they're really on top of each other. Nope, they're not. Now they are. Perfect. Okay, so we have, let's hide everything. We don't need the filter pane for the next one. We don't need the button, so let's go and copy paste the line chart again, because now we will be creating the print view, and the print view, it is bigger and it could take up more space. So let's copy paste this visual, go down, line print, and the same thing for the bar. So let's hide this again. Let's hide the line base. Let's go to bar base and copy paste it and name this bar print. Okay, and let's drag this down for organizational purposes, and let's hide the bar base and make sure we have the line print item open, and let's resize this for a print view where there would not be any icons or nothing like this. So let's go ahead and view the bar print. Let's put it above so we can select it, and let's just this time resize it on top of it, and let's drag this down again. Okay, and perfect. So we have all our visuals. We have our line base. Yep, we have the line when the filter is open, and then we have the line chart for the print view, and the same thing we have for the bar charts. Next, we will create our buttons. For this, we will import our icons for the buttons that we want, or if there is a default button from Power BI that we can use that. Then we will do our print button. This will be an icon I will import, and our line and bar chart buttons, same thing. I looked them up on the internet and I used the PNG file. And then we have to layer and group our buttons. Yeah, so this is really interesting because we will layer blank buttons on top of our icons to make some really cool effects. Okay, we are in Power BI again, so let's import all the icons. I downloaded from the internet, and these are PNG icons again. So let's go ahead and add them by clicking Insert an Image. Okay, these are three buttons now. We have the bar chart button icon, we have the line chart icon, and we have the print icon. So let's make them all the same size. Let's go to Format, General Properties, and let's use 47 by 40. Okay, that's the same thing for the other ones, 47 by 40. And then for the bar chart as well, 47 by 40. Okay, perfect. Now let's unhide our reset buttons, because not reset buttons, sorry, our filter open and close buttons, these two here. Okay, I know they're hard to see, but they're down here. Again, I chose the wrong color, so my bad. And let's go ahead and define a start position for these buttons. So we know that we want the print button at the top right, and we want these two buttons here. They will definitely be somewhere here. It does right now for this next step. It doesn't really matter where they are, because what we will do now is we will add some effects to these icons. Now, by default, if you would use a button from Power BI, for example, the information button, we can add some, we can go to style, and we can add some effect that, for example, on hover, the transparency should be higher, so that when you do a mouse over, it kind of has an effect. We want the same thing, but we want this for the icons we created, and unfortunately there is no option. We do not have a style on hover and so on effect that we can add, but there is a workaround. So let's go ahead and add a blank button. Okay, perfect. And we will need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blank buttons for now, because we will layer them on top of our images to create an effect. So let's go ahead and resize this first. Let's start off with the print button. This is 47 by 40. Let's make sure this is the exact same size. And let's move it so that it is exactly on top of the button, on top of the print icon. Okay, so let's call this print button. Oops. Print button. Perfect. And let's group this. Oops. Let's first rename our images. So we have the print image. Then we have our line image. And we have our bar image. Let's rename this image because we have bar and line base at the bottom, so that we are more organized. Okay, perfect. And the print button will be grouped with the print image. So let's make sure that the button is always on top of the image. So let's select the button, hit shift, and then print image, and then go to group. Perfect. So now we have the print button, and this is important. We could name this just print button, but this print button is in a state or a view, and this default state is the unselected state. So let's call this the print unselected. Okay, because what we will do later is duplicate this and then have a print button for selected. The reason is that we are going to add an action to the blank button that's on top of this, and this action is not we can't add parameters to an action. We can't say that if this is shown, do this action, otherwise do this action. We can only do one action per button. So what we have to do is create another button on top of this button and create a different action for it, and then hide or show them depending on in what view we are, so that we have the different actions we can take. All right, so let's format this a little bit so that we have some effect. Let's open up the group. Make sure we select the blank print button. Go to style, go to the default state, remove the icon for whatever reason, and remove the border. Okay, cool. And now we want a fill. And this is cool because, sorry, let's unselect fill. Let's go on hover. And now let's add a fill so that when the user hovers over it, there's an effect. This is pretty tricky because depending on what canvas background or what background you have behind this image, it will either shade the entire area around the image and display the shaded area in the same shape that the button is shaped, or if we decide to use the same background color, the same fill color as the one we have in the canvas, the background, we will not see the edges of the button. So it will simply, because this is a PNG image behind it, we will simply shade the line of the image. So it's a cool effect, because all we want to do is just shade the print button, but we don't want to shade any area around it, depending on whether you hover over it. So let's go ahead and for the fill, add the same color that we have for the background on hover. Okay, so let's go to more colors, enter the hex code, perfect. And and what will happen is it will now add, because we have a fill, it will add one in the default state as well. So for the default state, we want the transparency at 100% because we do not want to see the fill, but on hover we do want it. So let's add, maybe this is pretty decent, but let's do 50% so that you can see now if we hover over it, it goes lighter. Okay, and this is it's not much, but it does have a really cool effect to the user unconsciously, I think, because websites are built this way, apps are built this way, and it simply makes it look nicer. So let's make this, okay, this is nice. Okay, and then of course what you can also do is on press have the same color as a fill, yeah, but have the transparency at 20% so that on clicking there is even one more effect. It goes through another layer of effects. So that's really cool. Okay, and now we have this interactive button on hover and with a click function. So what we do now is we copy paste this. Okay, we put this in the exact same position as the other one, and we call this print selected. And this is perfect. This is exactly what we want. And let's go ahead and hide these buttons because we are finished for them. And we will do the same thing for the bar and line chart, but buttons or icons. But for these icons, I want to show, depending on what is selected, a shade around it so that the user knows I have selected the bar chart. Okay, and this again is also a little bit tricky because depending on the default state, on the selected state, if we want that this button, when it is selected, when we are at a certain view or bookmark, it shades the area, we need another button that is shown. Okay, so we need at least two buttons to show whether the bar chart is selected or not selected, and the same for the line chart. But let's go ahead and create the default state where we simply have an hover effect. Again, let's go and create a blank button, drag this on top of it, make sure that it is the same size, which is 47 by 40 in my case. Okay, and let's drag this exactly on top of it. And now this time we have a different background. So let's go to effects. Oops, sorry. Let's first rename this bar chart default. Okay. And we have our bar image. So let's add the default on top of it. And for the default, let's format this. Oops, sorry, I haven't selected it. Bar default. And let's go to style. And then again, we have the blank button. So let's go to default and we can change the formatting. No icon again. No border. We do want a fill. At default it is 100%. And on hover, we want the same fill color as the background so that we do not get edges or a fill color. Okay, let's go ahead and add the fill color. Perfect. And the default, we have a transparency 100%, so it doesn't matter. And the color will, let's say, 75. Let's see what happens. That's too little. We want more. Let's go 25. Okay, perfect. And now it will fade. It will have an effect when we hover on it. And again, what we could do is do the same thing for on press. Add the same color again, and have 10% transparency so that there's a click effect on top of it. And let's do the same thing for the line chart icon. Okay, I did this simply by copy pasting the bar default button. So let's rename this one line default. Oops. Okay. And now it is important to group these so that we are organized. Let's group the line image with the line button, and let's call this line button default. And oops, yep, that's fine. And the same for the bar icon. Okay, let's group this with the blank image we have on top of it. Name this bar button default. Okay, perfect. And let's go ahead and do the same thing for the open arrow. So we have a little effect on top of that. Let's go to buttons, blank, add this on top of this button. Okay. And have a style default. We do want a fill, we don't want an icon. 100% on default. No border. And on hover, we want the fill color the same as the background. Okay, and we go to 50% transparency, and you can barely see this. Let's go ahead and do 10%. Okay, now it kind of has an effect, but this is not good. This is not a. I'm gonna not have an effect because this button is not a good button. It is really light on a light background, and you can hardly see it. So I will keep it for the purpose of this video, but I highly suggest that if you do this, you also use a black button or a different colored button. Okay. So let's go ahead. We are done with these buttons. We don't need the open and filter close buttons. Okay, perfect. And now the next step is we have these two buttons. There will be 3 views or 6 views for these buttons. There will be the button when the line chart is shown together with the filter pane. So we will need to define the position of these buttons for that position. Then there will be the button based on the selection, so whether there's the bar line chart with a different background so that we know what we selected. And then there will be the buttons hidden from the page when the print view is selected. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the first scenario. Let's say that the filter pane is open, so let's show the filter pane. Perfect. And let's have the line open filter visual. Perfect. And let's position these buttons how we need them. Okay, let's go ahead and position them somewhere in the middle above it. Perfect. Okay, and in this case we have the line and default button. So let's say we don't want the We don't want the line default button, but we need the line selected button because we want to show a different state for this button when the line chart is open. So let's copy paste this, put it exactly on top of the other one. Perfect. And rename this group line button selected. Okay. And for this, we have a different default state. So let's open up the group, go to the blank button we have on top of the icon. Okay, first let's hide the default button in the background. Okay, and go back to the line selected button, click the line default, which is the blank button, go to style and go to default. And on default, let's add a fill. And let's add the color that we have above. Take a little bit of transparency away. Let's add a border on top of it, the same color. And let's see what it looks like. Oh no, this is not good. Let's go back. Let's take away, oops. Let's select again the blank button. Let's go default. Let's remove the border. We don't want that. But we do want soft edges. So I did want the same here, 3 pixels on the rounded corners. So let's go to General Effects. Go to a visual border. Okay. Just make this the same color as the background, yeah, so we don't see it. And let's add 3 pixels and let's have a look, and we can see that the corners are lightly rounded. Okay, and so this is the default button for when the line chart is selected, and so we have the line button selected. Perfect. Let's hide this and do the same thing for the bar chart. Oops. Go ahead and copy paste it. Oops, sorry, my bad, I did a mistake. Let's go select the entire group, the bar button default, copy paste it, and position it exactly on top of the other one. Let's rename this bar button selected and do the same thing as we did for the line selected. Again, on default, we want a fill color. And let me have a look at what I chose. 77%. This is 77% as well. Perfect. This looks great. Okay, lovely. And with the bar button selected, we have that now. Okay, perfect. So we have the bar button selected, we have the line selected. Then we have, oops, what is this? Oh, let's remove this button. I did not want it. It was a blank button from before. Okay, so we have the bar button. Oops, I did a mistake. I accidentally grouped. Okay, so we have the line button selected, the bar button selected, and then we have the bar default button. Oops, again I did a mistake. Ignore this, please. Okay, perfect. So now it's organized. We have our bar button default, our line button default, our line button selected, and our bar button selected. So let's hide everything. Okay, perfect. Let's show the default buttons. Okay. And now we have a different view. So now it gets a little bit tricky because we have another view where the filter pane is closed and the line chart is bigger, and we want in that case the buttons not to be here but to be in the middle, and we can't We don't have the option of choosing a location for the button if there is a certain view or bookmark selected. So again, what we have to do, unfortunately, is we have to duplicate the same thing that we did before. Okay, so this is we have to duplicate all 4 buttons, the selected and the default states, and move them in the middle of the page. Okay, so to do this, let's first hide the filter pane, the line-based chart, the line filter open chart, and let's view the line-based chart so we know what the canvas looks like. Okay, perfect. And now all we want to do is copy paste the print, copy paste the line default, okay, and hide the other ones. Whoops. And now move them somewhere in the middle of the chart. Okay, and these are the default. So let's name this line button base default, because this is the base view, and the bar button base default. We have to do the same thing as we did before. Copy paste, oops. Copy paste the, let me remove this. Copy paste the line and bar buttons, okay, and format them so that they are in a selected state. Okay, we can just, oops, let's make it easier. Let's copy paste these and move this on top of the other one, and the same for the other one. Move it on top so that it's in the right position. And let's rename this line button selected, and we have line button base selected and bar button base selected. Okay, perfect. Now let's hide this. Let's hide everything except the visual, and let's have a look at what scenarios we're looking at. Okay, so we have very complex amount of buttons, but there's no way around it, and I'm going to show you in a second why. Because depending on what view we have, we want the buttons to be in a certain position or in a certain state. Okay, so the next step would be to create our views. We're going to do this in a second, but let's just have a quick look at what it would look like if now we have the line chart selected. So we need the line button base selected, this one, and we have the bar button default. Okay, and this is what it would look like if we have the line selected. Okay, that's very cool. That's exactly what we need. Okay, perfect. So let's start creating our item layering and bookmarks. Okay, we will layer and group the items, which we already kind of did, and organize them in the certain order that we need depending on what bookmark. And we will show and hide the items for each view and bookmark depending on what the user needs. Okay, welcome back to Power BI Desktop, and let's go ahead and create our views. And for this we have our bookmarks. So the first view we want to create is the full line chart with the line chart button centered on top of it. All right, so let's go ahead and choose our line base to show this. This is our line chart. Then we want the open filter button as a default state. And then we need our buttons to be able to select the bar chart and the line chart. So let's go ahead and choose the line button base selected and the bar button base default. Okay, perfect. And now we also need our print. Let's go ahead and click on line print because this is the line print button. And oops, sorry, wrong one. We want the button. So let's go ahead and go on print unselected. Okay, perfect. And this looks great. So this is exactly the view we want. So let's go ahead and go to the bookmark. Make sure you don't click it, but that you click the more options button, the 3 buttons behind it, and click update. Yeah. And now if any of the button actions or any way leads to this bookmark, it will show this view. Perfect. Let's do the same thing for the bar view. Okay, so let's hide we can just continue working from here. Nothing will change. So let's go ahead and hide the line base and show the bar base. Perfect. And now for the buttons, we want the line default button and we want the bar selected button. And this looks great. And for the print button, of course, we have to also make sure that we use the print bar unselected instead of the line unselected. And let's go ahead and update this view as well. Wonderful. Okay, and we continue onwards for the line chart where the filter is open. So let's go to line full so that we have the line chart. Let's go ahead and just hide everything. Oops. And yep, that's fine. Let's go ahead, hide everything. Let's add back the logo that we want. Perfect. I had to select every item to unhide it. Okay. Then we want which one are we doing? The line filters. So line print. Oops. Line filter. Perfect. And we have the close filter that we need. Then we have our filter pane, which goes on top of it. Oops. Let's go ahead and unhide the items. Perfect. And then we have the reset line button because we are using the line button. And then we want our print line unselected. Let's go ahead and open this up and unhide the items. Wonderful. And now finally the base buttons that we need. So we have line button, base bar button default. Oops. Bar button default. Okay. And then our line button selected. Let's unhide this. Okay. This also looks great. This is very nice. So this looks fine. This is how we want it. Let's go ahead and save this as the line filter view or the line filter bookmark. Right, and again we do the same for the bar. So let's go ahead and show bar open, reset button bar, and print bar unselected. Let's unhide the items in it. And then we have bar selected. And then we have line button default. Oops, I have to unhide the items inside. The line button default and the bar button selected. Perfect. And this will be the bar filter view. Wonderful. Let's update this. And for the line reset, we will simply click on the line filter button and go to reset line and just update this because this one will take the data. And let's go ahead and click reset line again and let's reset all the filters. So store increase is 0 and everything is on all. Let's update this for the reset line update. And let's go to bar filter view and do the same thing. Okay, we already have the 0 selected. That's perfect. And go ahead and use this as the reset bar button. Okay, and then finally we have the print line and the print bar. So let's go ahead and hide everything that we don't need. We don't want any buttons. We don't want the filter buttons. We don't want the reset buttons. We don't want the filter pane. We do not want the logo, and we want the bar print. Oh no, sorry, let's do the line print first. And then again, for this view, we need the print button, the right one. So this is print line, oops. And this time we use print line selected because we have the selected button, so that, oh sorry, we hide it altogether. My bad. We hide all the print buttons. We don't show anything. And we hide this button here as well, the open filter button. Okay, and this would be the print line view. So let's go ahead and click update. And let's go ahead and hide line print and show bar print, and let's update the bar print view. Okay, that's fine. So let's go ahead and test this a little bit. Oh no, sorry. First, I'm going to show you how to add the actions, and then we can test. All right, this looks great. So let's continue with our button actions. For this, we have to add the bookmarks destination for every button action. All right, we are in Power BI, and I've already pre-selected the line full view. And now it's time to add our actions to our buttons, but just before we do this, I did a mistake. So let's go back and fix it. We have our line button, and this is the open line filter button. And we need another one of this. So let's copy, paste it, add it on top of it. Oops. And this would be our open bar filter. And we need the same thing for the close button. Oops. Let's hide these. Let's see the close button, and we need the same thing for this. So this is the close bar filter button. And then we have our close line filter button. Okay, so let's go back and go to our first view. We have to make sure that all of this is hidden and only show the open line filter. And let's go ahead and update this so it doesn't show the others. Okay, perfect. And let's go ahead and do the same for the other ones quickly. We want to see the open bar filter one for the bar view. Let's update this. And for the line filter, we don't want to show the open, we only want to see the open line, close line, sorry, close line button. So let's go ahead and update line. Do the same for the bar. Let's go ahead and show the close bar. Perfect. Okay, and our reset buttons, the same thing. Close line only, reset line, update. And I will skip this part for the next ones, but we have to do the same thing for every step. Okay, perfect. So let's go back to the bookmark, the line full view, and let's program our buttons. Okay, so first things first, the print button. Let's go ahead and select the blank button that's on top of it. Let's go to Format and define an action. Let's open up Actions, go to Bookmarks, and for this we want the print bar bookmark. Perfect. Let's go ahead and create the action for the line for the filter pane. Alright, so let's go ahead and create the action for this. Let's go to type, again bookmark, and for this we want the line with the filter. All right, and then we have finally we have our bar chart button for when we want to go to the bar chart. Let's open up that bar default, and for this we want the action bookmark, and we want the bar full because this is the full view. Perfect. So let's do the same thing for the bar chart. If I should control click here, we should go to the bar chart. Let's go ahead and click it. Perfect, that worked. Okay, and now we see only the buttons we have decided to show for the bar chart view. And this is perfect, so we can just go ahead and click on the buttons and then add our actions, and there shouldn't be any actions defined for them. So for this we have the print bar bookmark, and for this we have the open filter bar, so bar filter, and then for this we don't need to define anything because nothing happens, so let's just choose the line one and action bookmark line full. Okay, perfect. And we can now go back and see the line chart and switch between. That's great. All right, so let's define our filter views. So let's go ahead and click this. It should open up the filter and be the bar chart. Perfect. And now we need to define these buttons as well. So for this button, let's go ahead and define an action. Go to bookmark and go to bar full because this should close it. And then here we define the action of the line chart with the filter because we're in the filter view. Yeah, and the only way to get out of it is to close the filter. And then the print button has the action. Let's double check this for the print bar. Okay, perfect. So if we click here now, we should go to the filter view. Perfect, for the line chart. And we have a different reset button. We forgot to do the reset button. Let's go back to the bar chart. Let's click on the reset button, and on the reset button create the action for the bookmark, and we have the line reset. Okay, let's see if this works. Perfect. We shouldn't be going anywhere. Let's go back to the bar chart. Oh yeah, we didn't define the button. Yeah, wait, let's define this. Let's define the buttons here. So we go action bookmark, and we have bar filter and print. Let's double check this as well, the print button. Okay, perfect. So now we should, wait, did we define this? Nope. We also have to set the bookmark, and then we have line full. Perfect. Let's go back to the bar chart and see if everything here is fine. It's fine. And if I close this, I should have the full view. I should be able to switch, and now on each I should be able to print. Perfect. Now there is one big thing missing for me, and that is the little extra touch for the user experience, where once we have the filter pane open, the user might not necessarily be so determined to click here, but rather try and click anywhere in the page to get out of this view. And the same for the print view. Yeah, because right now what we are still missing is if we are in the print view, there's no way of going back. Okay, so usually what does a user do? He just clicks to try and get out of it or something like this. And to do this, let's see what we need. This looks great, but one final step. Let's add the blank button layover so that when the user has the print view, for example, the user can just click anywhere in the page and go away. And the same thing for the filter pane. All right, for the final step, back in Power BI, let's create that click away button. So let's go to the print view Perfect. Let's add a button blank, and we just drag this across the entire page. Perfect. Style, and we don't want anything. We want this to be invisible. And action, we go bookmark, and we go back to the bar full. And this is the, let's call this away print bar, and let's copy paste this button, and the other one away print line. Okay, perfect. And now let's go to the print bar view again, and let's hide the print line button and update it. And we're gonna have to do this for the filter pane as well in a second. So let's go click print line, make sure that only the print line button is selected. Let's update this. Let's go on the print line button and action, we go to line full. Okay, so on the print bar, if we would go on print bar again, on the print bar we have the action for the bar, and on the print line the action for the line. So let's go to the filter views. So this would be the filter view and the reset views. Let's click here, and we can still see we have our button. So now right now our button is on top of everything. That is terrible. We have to be really careful not to do this to do this mistake. We always have to layer the button in the right way. So the first thing we want to do is hide the line, and then hide the bar, the click away for the print for the bar button, and then take the blank line button and drag it below the filter pane. Down here, all the way down here. So let's see if right now we hit escape or we click away, we should only see the button behind the lane. Okay, perfect. And we can see that the buttons, our action buttons, are still on top of this layer. So we have our visual, okay, which is not interactive right now because there's the button on top of it. Then we have our actual buttons to switch view, including our print button, which is still selectable. And then we have our filter pane available for editing, right? And you have to make sure everything is layered correctly. And right now, if the user would click here, it would go back into the full line view. Okay, so let's go ahead and update line filter. And let's do the same thing for the bar. We only want print away bar. We want it also below the filter pane. Let's hide the print away line, and let's update bar filter. And the same thing for the reset. We want away print line. So reset line update, and then bar, we want the click away bar button only. And we have this reset bar. And now finally for the lines, we do need to get rid of this click button because it is blocking our view. Even though we don't see it, it is blocking our ability to click anything on the page. So we have to hide both the buttons that we created for the line. We don't want any button, blank button on top of the page, and the same thing for the bar. So let's go ahead and hide these. Update bar. Okay, perfect. And let's close up everything and try it out. This should be pretty cool. So if we click Control, we can interact with the buttons. So let's try and open the filter pane. Okay, perfect. Let me choose something and try and reset it. That does not work, so we have to go back to format, and we forgot to have the action for the bar chart. So let's go bar, reset bar. Let's try this again. Okay, perfect. It resets and we don't move away. Let's see what happens if we try and close this. Okay, it closes. Let's see what happens if we click the chart. It should also close because we have this click away button layered. And perfect, that also works. And let's try and print this. Perfect, and now if we should click anywhere, it should go back to the view. Wonderful, and the same thing for the line path. So we have the line chart. Let's print the line chart, and we have a mistake. Okay, so we go back, we go to the line, we click on the print button, we see our open up everything, and we can see that we have print line unselected, but the print line button has the wrong action. We want the print line. So let's try this again. Print line. Perfect, and now if we click anywhere, it should close. Wonderful, and if we open the filter pane, beautiful. Select something, reset, sets back to 0. Click anywhere and close it. Open up, click the button and close it. Open up, switch directly to the bar chart. Switches to the bar chart. Amazing, and this is a great user experience. And we have all this complexity in terms of items, layering, and bookmarks, but the outcome is so nice and simple for the user. Okay, we made something complicated look really easy for the end user, and this is what it's all about. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.